I told Nate I was flying home to help my sister move our mom into a smaller apartment. It's going to be chaos, I said, rubbing my forehead like a loving daughter with a headache. He hugged me in the kitchen, promised to feed the cat, set up bill pays, and slipped $100 bill into my hand for airport food because they charge you $7 for a banana. I laughed, kissed his cheek, and told him he was the best man I knew. Then I flew to Miami and let a surgeon draw purple lines all over me. I didn't start as a liar. I started as tired. Tired of tugging at my jeans in every bathroom mirror. Tired of hiding in oversized sweaters. Tired of seeing my Explore page full of tiny waists and round hips and captions about confidence unlocked. The algorithm kept showing clinics with bright lights and soft music and day 1 to day 30 reels where the bruises looked like petals and the smiles looked like salvation. Small investment in yourself, one caption said. I saved it. Then I saved another. Then I sent a link to my friend Kara with a LOL imagine text I didn't mean. Nate had told me for 3 years that he loved me as I was. He'd rest his hand on my hip in the morning and say, perfect, and I would smile and suck in my stomach anyway. When I tested the water once and said, what if I did, like, a small surgery, he went quiet. If it's for you, I'll support you, he said. But I don't want you to feel like you have to carve yourself up to keep up with an app. I nodded and changed the subject, then spent that night doom-scrolling women who looked like cartoon fruit. I found a clinic with an all-inclusive recovery package, which is a kind way of saying they'll move fat from here to there, and then park you in a pastel house with a nurse and a special pillow while you bleed into pads. $20,000 covered surgery, meds, faja, massages, and a week at the house. I had 11 grand in personal savings. I told myself I'd put the rest on my card and pay it off with overtime. Then I remembered the small joint fund we kept for house stuff. I told myself I'd borrow from it, just for a bit, and pay it back first thing. The cover story was simple. My sister would text me once about mom's back pain, and I'd screenshot it. I printed a fake itinerary to Chicago and left it on the counter. I set my work email to family emergency and packed pajamas, socks, and a heating pad so the bag would look innocent. I slid the compression garments under a sweatshirt in a tote. It's cold at my mom's, I said when Nate asked why the bag was puffy. He tucked a snack bar into the side pocket and told me to text when I landed. The clinic didn't look like the reels. It was bright and chilly and smelled like lemon and something sharp. The nurse called me honey, in a voice that said she called everyone honey. The surgeon drew arrows across my stomach and hips while I stared at the wall and tried not to shake. Snatch the waist, add projection, balance the hip, he said, like he was describing shelves. I signed forms with a hand that didn't feel like mine. You'll love it, he said. I nodded because I needed to believe him. Time around surgery doesn't act right. I woke up cold and sticky and crying without sound. The nurse slid a straw to my lips and told me to breathe. They eased me into the faja, warned me not to sit or lie on my back. I thought of Nate scooping a litter box and paying the gas bill and folded the thought up like a receipt. The first night I dreamed I was sinking in purple ink. The second day, I watched a girl in my house shuffle past with the same pillow and realized we all thought pain had a discount. Recovery was ugly. The first lymphatic massage made my vision go white. I waddled to the bathroom and stared at bruises that looked like maps of a place I didn't want to visit. Day 4's the wall, the nurse said, refilling my meds. You'll turn a corner. Day 5 I took a crooked little walk around the block and the Florida sun felt like permission. I angled my camera just right and took a photo where the swelling looked like shape. I sent it to myself and didn't post. I wasn't ready to lie that loud. I flew home sore and stitched and scared he'd brush my side and know. I told him my back hurt from lifting boxes. He rubbed my shoulders like I was made of glass, set a heating pad behind me, and made tea. He asked about my mom. I added detail to detail. She might move closer to Aunt Lynn, I said. She's tired but okay. The lies rolled downhill and gathered snow. I told myself I could jump clear whenever I wanted. 2 days later, I was changing pads in the bathroom when I heard him flipping through the mail. Babe, he called. What's this? I froze. The one-paper statement I hadn't switched to digital lay thick in his hand. He stood in the doorway holding it like it might burn him. Did you spend $20,000 in Miami? He asked, voice steady in that way that meant something had snapped into place. I said the first stupid thing I could reach. fraud. He looked at the BBL pillow half hidden behind the chair, the garment bag under it, the way I stood like my skin was glass. He set the envelope down. Tell me the truth. It all fell out. The clinic, the nurse, the house where women shuffled like commas, the promise to pay it back, the savings I told myself I had only borrowed. I said it was for me. I said I needed to feel like myself. I said I would have told him, just not yet. He listened with his hands in his pockets like he was trying not to touch anything that would make him angrier. When I finished, he nodded once. You took 20 grand from our future and spent it on a secret, he said. You lied about your mom. You let me worry. You made me a fool in my own home. I reached for him. He stepped back. I'm not punishing you, he said. I'm setting a boundary. I should have set the first time you hid something. He went to the closet and pulled down my suitcases. He didn't throw anything. He folded my clothes, stacked my books, wrapped mugs and dish towels like he always did when we moved. The care made it worse. He carried the bags outside one by one and set them on the lawn. The cat watched from the window like a tiny judge. A neighbor watering his garden pretended not to stare and stared anyway. He took my key off his ring and set it on the counter. You can stay with Kara, he said. I'm going to Ryan's. He grabbed a backpack, his laptop, and the little folder that held our house fund. At the door, he paused. I loved you. I probably still do, he said. But I'm not living with someone who will burn down our plan for a picture. Then he was gone. I moved into the room above Kara's garage, a square space that smelled like laundry soap and dust. I propped myself on the BBL pillow and tried not to cry into my soup. My sister called me insane and then told me I looked amazing in the photo I had texted her. My mom, who I had used as a prop, left a voicemail that said, "You can tell me anything," in a voice that made me feel 12. Nate sent 2 messages. Please transfer your part of the bills and send a forwarding address. Nothing else. The new body felt like a costume I wasn't brave enough to wear. Strangers stared at the curve under my dress, and I couldn't tell if they were impressed or if my shame was loud enough to draw eyes. My friends said, "You look great," with the energy people use for kitchen remodels. The faja itched. The pillow squeaked every time I shifted. Every deep breath tugged at stitches. I tried to post a photo and couldn't get past the caption. Who was I trying to convince now? I picked up extra shifts and called the clinic about a payment plan. I sold clothes. I learned to make rice and beans 5 ways. Every night, I wrote down the lies I wanted to tell. It was for us. It's not that much, he overreacted, and crossed each one out until the page looked like a little graveyard. I sent Nate a letter because a letter can't send me 3 gray dots and leave me hanging. I told him everything. I told him I had been jealous of girls who didn't exist and scared of a future that did. I told him I'd pay every dollar and learn how to tell the truth when it's small. He met me at a coffee shop to hand back the spare key and sign the form to remove my name from the lease. He looked good in that quiet way he gets when a choice is settled. Do you need anything? He asked. I told him I needed things I didn't have the right to want. He nodded. After a minute, he said, I wish you'd asked me to come with you. I would have hated it. But I would have held your hand. I stared at the table until my vision went soft because that sentence cut cleaner than any shout. That night, I went back to Kara's and opened the plastic bin of things I hadn't unpacked. The faja was rolled like a belt snake. The BBL pillow squeaked when I pressed it, a cheap toy with too much power over my day. I held up the dress I'd bought for the new me and laughed once because it looked like it belonged to a stranger I used to follow. I made a list. Pay the card, call my mom back, stop lying to myself. I wrote, return the dress, then crossed it out because I didn't need to punish myself to learn. I needed to practice telling the truth until it didn't scare me. After that, the days got simple and long. Work. Walk. Ice. Payments. Repeat. The bruises faded to yellow, and then away. The drain holes healed. The card balance dropped in slow bites. I stopped opening my Explore page because it felt like a store where I had already blown the rent. I started therapy because I needed someone to say out loud what I didn't trust myself to know. My therapist asked what the surgery was supposed to fix that honesty couldn't. I didn't have a good answer. I said I wanted to be looked at and never judged, and she said that was a wish, not a plan. In spring, I walked past our old block on purpose. Nate was on the porch with the cat curled by his feet. He saw me and didn't wave. I stood across the street and memorized the way his shoulders sat in that gray sweater and thought about the life I had tried to skip toward. Two people at a table making a grocery list. Arguing about paint colors. Saving for a fence. Aging in a house with creaky floors. It wasn't glamorous and it wasn't viral, but it was ours, and I traded it for a new curve and a pile of bills. I'm not going to pretend there's a neat ending here. I have a new shape and the same lessons everyone learns the hard way if they won't learn them the easy way. Shortcuts cost more. Secrets collect interest. Love hates lies. If I ever love someone like that again, I'm going to tell the truth when it's small so it doesn't get big enough to crush me. I'm paying this bill with money and with better choices. Some days I believe myself. If you want the short version, here it is. I lied about a family trip to get a $20,000 BBL. He found out, set my bags on the lawn, and kept his dignity. I wanted to feel new without becoming different. Now I'm becoming different the slow way. I don't know if he'll forgive me. I don't know if I deserve it. I know the best part of our life was the quiet I stepped over on my way to a louder one. I miss the quiet like air. And when I sit on my squeaky little pillow in my squeaky little room, I remind myself that the person I want to be can't be bought. She has to be made. Sometimes, late, I open the box of old photos Nate didn't want back and find the picture of us at the lake. I'm in a swimsuit I hated then and miss now. He's got sunscreen on his nose and that grin that made hard weeks feel survivable. We look like two people who believed time would be kind if we were kind first. I tuck the photo away and set an alarm for the morning shift. When it goes off at 5, I stand up slow, sip water, and tell myself out loud, no shortcuts today. It sounds corny. It also works. I keep going, even when no one is watching me now.